Hello all. It's a wonderful, I think 29 degrees today in the UK, which is quite hot considering our houses and apartments and stuff are built to retain heat. But yeah, it's wonderful nonetheless. And as you can see, I'm dressed for the occasion. But yeah, I'm trialing something where maybe once a week, which is a realistic thing versus my brain saying, hey, do it every day, otherwise it's not enough. But let's say this, I'll start out with once a week. And if there's any topics or things that are particularly interesting or relevant or might be useful for other people I'm coaching or mentoring, I thought to just share it like this. So let me know your thoughts in terms of how this comes across, how you liked it, and if it ends up having an effect on your day in a positive manner, hopefully. So without further ado, I'll jump into the topic I had in mind, which is the trap of living a life that is all about reacting to crises or anxieties. It's quite shit, but if you're one of the people I coach and mentor who has a brain like mine, and by the way, this is potentially useful for people who are neurotypical as well, because it's a trap that a lot of people fall into, but ADHDers fall into it more. What ends up happening is ADHD has this perfect storm in which we don't get dopamine when we think of future positives, like, oh, I'll save, I'll put together a pension, I'll invest in this, etc. It just doesn't work. The only dopamine we can reliably get is in usual circumstances when you don't have support, treatment, this, that. The main form of dopamine we're used to is the quick, fast-acting one. No, we have to do something today, and only if we do it today do we feel good about it. Because what inevitably happens is it's oh, we did this today, we made a lot of progress, we go to sleep, and it's someone goes, delete history. And we wake up the next morning, we're you know what, we're really excited, let's do this other thing. But what ends up happening is ADHDers are really, as a result, sorry, let me take a step back. The thing is, we can't get a lot of dopamine for planning for the future, right? Because it's time perception wise, oh, when will that happen? Who knows? Who cares? Annoyingly, and I mean this from the heart, we do get stimulus or dopamine in a negative format usually, or negative fashion, when we think about the possibility of future losses. And it's quite interesting because what ends up happening in the research, especially with the neurodiverse community, is even in the baseline, the emotional response of something that is stress or anxiety driven, or it's oh, so you won't feel really good or stuff when you're oh, I'm saving this much every month. But if you think about, oh, what if I don't have money at this time or for this thing? And what if I run out of money at this point? Or what if this other thing happens? What if the boiler explodes, this, that? We have usually double the response that others do. And what's really shit about that is it's very, very, very easy to fall into a trap where we just keep putting out fires, or what we perceive to be fires, or even just things that you think may catch fire. And what's even more shit is that this sensitivity to loss aversion can end up affecting things that you don't care about. Oh, I'm going to throw this cardboard box out. But what if you could have used it for another thing where you need it for organization? Oh, you know what? I'm probably going to say no to this job offer because it doesn't work for me. But what if you don't get a job? Other job? What if no one wants you? What if this happens? What if that happens? There's a lot of these anxieties that'll kick in, meaning it's hard to design the life that we want because we're too worried about like being reactive to all of these things that seem important. Most of them aren't even important. Like if you got up one day and you saw something, you're like, I don't care about this. But then someone's like, okay, like, can I throw it away or can I? No. This has become the most important thing now because we're reacting to that perceived loss aversion. So what happens here is a lot of ADHDers and neurotypicals end up feeling so stressed about the prospect of letting certain things go and or losing certain things or opportunities. Like recently I've ended up like ignoring like an investment application for Billboard, my 3D printing related company, because it was quite exciting. It was like, oh, this much money, this, that happens. And we're like, oh, we can match it to like this impact fund, which to be honest would be relevant. And the idea, and what's funny is as we got close to the deadline, which was like the 28th, my brain was like, oh no, Isa, you need to do this. Oh, what if you need it later? What if this happens? What if the world explodes? Blah, blah, blah. It wasn't actually relevant for us. It wouldn't have been useful. And it would cause us to like get into waiting mode for a few months while waiting for the result. And then finally that investment may even take away some of the pressure to turn it into a profitable or revenue-based business versus just raise a bunch of money and just remove that. But I'm quite happy because while I only decided on like the second last day of minimizing the loss, and it's funny, it's not even a loss, it's a potential of future loss that we will perceive and feel bad because we've lost this thing in the future. It's also a trap that people fall into with like jobs or this, that. They're like, you know what, I've got the job or it's 100% done and this, that. They get really excited and plan out this entire future based on that happening. And it doesn't happen and they're like, oh shit. So the thing here that I wanted to share was, one, in this situation, the reactivity is usually something to do with the emotional overwhelm or need for speed, right? Oh, we need to be moving really fast. Otherwise, if we stop, everyone dies and everything explodes. And I'm exaggerating, but also not, because I know how people can feel, especially if they have certain comorbidities or PTSD. But what happens is we run from a lot of these things by just keeping moving in the hope that eventually we'll run so far that it doesn't follow us. But one of the things to do here is actually think about how to improve that emotional overwhelm, better manage that. What are the processes or systems that could be created with that kind of thing? And in terms of planning, like a lot of people will give these things of like, oh, make it critical, urgent, nice to have this, that. One of the things I've found useful in these situations, right, is I'll take, let's say I have a to-do list or something. I'll take 2 pages, one back, one forward. The first page, I'll just put everything on my mind that goes through. I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And I'm just gonna move for the last part of this because there's some drilling happening next door. But what happens is, for a long time, I used to try and stop all of the other thoughts or ideas or things that are like, oh my God, these need doing. Versus now, what I end up doing is I let them run. I fill out that complete page. And then I go to the next page. And now that I have like all of those things listed down, it means I can compare tasks and think about, oh, I need to do this. Do I? Is this me trying to minimize a loss? And more importantly, is that actually going to happen? And is minimizing the loss of this one thing with a low probability actually going to, Alexa, stop, actually going to positively impact what I'm trying to do? Yeah. So the idea here is to get out of that overwhelm trap or the cycle of I need to constantly be doing this and everything's on fire. What we need to do and focus on is dealing with that versus doing other things in the hope that that will also improve. Cheers.